Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning. You check your bank account. $0. Nothing. Not a single penny to your name. Your stomach drops. Your hands start shaking. You can't breathe properly. Now here's the thing that most people don't realize. This fear you're feeling right now, it's not really about money. It's psychological. It's primal. It's your brain screaming that you're about to lose your place in the social hierarchy, and that terrifies us more than actual poverty ever could. Today, I'm breaking down the psychological horror of zero balance and why your brain literally treats an empty bank account like a life or death situation. We're uncovering 4 psychological triggers that keep you trapped in this fear, the hidden reason why wealth anxiety exists even among millionaires, and most importantly, how to rewire your relationship with money so this fear loses its grip on you forever. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that financial stress is the #1 source of anxiety for adults in developed countries, affecting nearly 70% of the population. But here's what's wild. The actual amount of money in your account isn't what creates the anxiety. It's what that zero balance represents to your brain. Your primitive mind hasn't evolved much since we were living in tribes 10,000 years ago. Back then, being kicked out of the group literally meant death. You couldn't survive alone. So your brain wired you to obsess over status, resources, and your position within the social structure. When you see that zero balance, your ancient survival system gets activated, and suddenly you feel like you're about to be exiled from civilization itself. Step 1. The identity collapse trigger. Let me tell you about Marcus. He was making $250,000 a year as a corporate executive. 6 figures, fancy car, the whole package. One day, he got laid off. His income went to 0. Now, logically, he had savings. He had skills. He could find another job. But he couldn't sleep. He developed severe anxiety. He couldn't even tell his friends what happened because the shame was overwhelming. Here's why. Marcus had built his entire identity around being a high earner. His self-worth was completely fused with his bank balance. When that balance dropped, he didn't just lose money. He lost his identity. He lost who he thought he was. This is the first psychological horror of zero balance. It's not the lack of resources that destroys you. It's the identity collapse. Your brain has created a story where you equal your net worth. You're not a person with money problems. You're a failure. You're not valuable. This narrative hijacks your entire sense of self, and it happens in seconds, completely outside your conscious awareness. The problem is that we're taught this equation from childhood. Parents praise kids for getting good grades. Society celebrates wealthy people. Media shows us that success equals money. So, by the time you're an adult, you've internalized this belief so deeply that it feels like truth. When your balance hits 0, your brain doesn't compute it as a temporary situation. It computes it as a fundamental character flaw. And this is where the psychological horror deepens, because now you're not just dealing with a financial problem, you're dealing with a complete identity crisis. Step 2. The status extinction fear. Here's something most people won't admit out loud, but I'll say it for you. You care what other people think about you. Not because you're shallow, but because being judged by your tribe has real evolutionary consequences. Your brain is literally wired to monitor your social status constantly. Anthropologists have found that in every human society across history, people rank themselves against others. It's not greed, it's not vanity, it's survival programming. When you have zero balance, your brain interprets this as a massive status drop. You're no longer the person with resources. You're the person who has nothing. You're at the bottom of the hierarchy. Studies on social comparison show that people feel deeper pain from relative deprivation, meaning losing status compared to others, than from absolute poverty. So, if everyone around you has money and you don't, the psychological pain is exponentially worse than if everyone was equally broke. This is why lottery winners sometimes fall into depression, even though they suddenly have massive wealth. They temporarily experience status elevation, and when it normalized, their brain grieved the loss of status, not the loss of money. Zero balance triggers this status extinction fear because your brain knows that without resources, you lose the ability to display status symbols, maintain your social position, and retain your place in the hierarchy. And that activates your deepest survival fears. Step 3. The control dissolution anxiety. I want you to think about something. When you have money in your account, you feel in control. Even if it's just $100, there's a psychological shift that happens. You feel like you have options. You feel like you can handle emergencies. You feel like you matter. When that balance hits zero, all of that dissolves instantly. Psychologists call this locus of control. Basically, it's your sense of agency, your belief that you can influence what happens to you. People with a strong internal locus of control feel like they're the captain of their ship. People with an external locus of control feel like victims of circumstance. Zero balance completely obliterates your internal locus of control because you literally have no resources to exercise control. Think about someone living paycheck to paycheck. They can't take a sick day without panicking. They can't negotiate at their job because they're terrified of being fired. They can't leave a bad relationship because they can't afford to move out. They can't pursue education or training because they can't afford the investment. Every single choice is removed from their hands. Their brain is constantly operating in a state of helplessness. This isn't just frustrating. It's psychologically devastating because humans have a fundamental need for autonomy and control. Remove that, and you activate what psychologists call learned helplessness. A state where people stop trying because they've learned that nothing they do makes a difference. Zero balance doesn't just trigger fear. It triggers this deep existential dread that you've lost the ability to shape your own life. Step 4. The survival mode activation. Here's the final psychological horror that ties everything together. When your balance hits zero, your entire nervous system shifts into survival mode. This isn't dramatic language. This is actual neuroscience. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, gets activated. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational decision-making part, gets suppressed. Your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. You're literally operating from a different part of your brain now. And here's the problem with this. Your survival brain is excellent at responding to immediate physical threats, but it's terrible at responding to abstract financial threats. So what happens is you make decisions from this panicked state that create more problems. You take predatory loans with insane interest rates. You make impulsive purchases trying to feel better. You avoid checking your bank balance altogether, which means you overdraft and rack up fees. You get angry at loved ones because you're in constant fight-or-flight mode. You can't sleep because your nervous system is in perpetual alert. Your immune system tanks because stress hormones suppress immune function. Studies show that financial stress causes measurable increases in heart disease, depression, and anxiety disorders. The psychological horror of zero balance isn't just in your head, it physically damages your health. And here's what's insidious about this. Once you're in survival mode, your brain makes it almost impossible to escape, because survival mode is designed to keep you alive in the moment, not to help you plan for the future. You can't think long-term when you're in constant panic. You can't make strategic decisions. You can't invest in your growth. You're completely trapped in a cycle where the fear of zero balance creates the behaviors that guarantee you'll stay broke, which reinforces the fear, which reinforces the behaviors. It's a psychological prison that most people don't even realize they're in. After going deep into all of this research, one thing became clear to me. Understanding the psychology is only half the battle. You also need a framework for rewiring how your brain actually relates to wealth. Not just surviving it, but building a different relationship with it entirely. I found something called the Dubai Wealth Secret that addresses exactly this, the mental side of wealth that nobody talks about. It's not tips and tricks, it's the psychological foundation. Link is in the description. If this hit close to home, drop a comment. Tell me which of the 4 triggers you recognized in yourself. That awareness alone is worth something. And if you're ready to go deeper on the psychological side of wealth, the link below is where I'd start. I'm Mercer. This is Reckoning. The truth was always coming due.